let's start, I guess, with some. We said it'd be a mixed bag, so we'll get into some soccer stuff, get into some other fun stuff. This is on the lines of that. Little sports media. I love sports media. I talk about it all the time. And
we are sports media, yeah.
We literally are sports media. And something that happened in the last few weeks, Apple TV, with this new age of streaming and going all in on kind of buying leagues and their coverage, Apple TV is getting in the mix. 10 years, $2.5 billion deal with the MLS.
Yeah.
You're going to have to buy a separate package to get the MLS. But this is something, I don't know if everything's exclusive on Apple TV, but this is unprecedented sense where we have just buying, one of these streaming services buying an entire league. And the MLS, I think, a very interesting choice for Apple TV.
So I think it's interesting, Apple TV in general, right? That's not something 5 years ago you would ever think is going to be a major sports player. Now you really got to start thinking about it because they've got the money to spend. And this is a great thing for soccer, I think, in a lot of ways where I'm not a huge streaming person. I think when you go down the streaming route, it can narrow your fan base a little bit. But I think with this is a little bit different because people are going to have more and more streaming services. Major League Soccer is a game that, we see a lot of national TV games, but otherwise it's all on ESPN Plus right now, which the average fan is not going to have. A big sports fan has ESPN Plus, but an average person is not going to have ESPN Plus. They might have Apple TV. So to get the common fan, just an average person on the street watching more soccer, when every single game is on there, is absolutely massive. And we were talking about this yesterday. No broadcast blackouts, no traditional TV. It's full. This is everything that you can ask for between the MLS League Cups, MLS Next also in terms of up and coming leagues and teams too. That's all really exciting, and obviously the value, right? This is showing you that MLS is certainly something worth paying for, and we'll see how it all plays out from a broadcast quality standpoint and what the rest of the situation looks like, because I'm assuming MLS is going to pursue some other paths too, but as a start, this is interesting and it's exciting, I think.
Yeah, I think this is a great first step, or a great step in general for the MLS and Apple TV, because as a fan of the National Women's Soccer League, we have a similar structure with Paramount Plus, which is like CBS's streaming platform. And as someone who likes to watch those games, obviously, having a streaming platform that you can definitely count on, and also, just that you can count on, is really, really easy rather than going through different channels and stuff. I mean, there is the opposite side of that where you have to pay for different streaming platforms, which is sometimes can, again, lead down a bit of a hole there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this is a great move overall for both parties.
Yeah, so what concerns me sometimes with stuff like this is when I think about the Premier League, right? I'm a huge Premier League fan, and when they were on NBCSN constantly, USA Network constantly, I would get up every Sunday and watch games. The second they shifted to Peacock and they would put marquee games on a streaming service and then selectively choose what goes on cable, what goes on streaming, you never knew what to watch. You never knew where games were. And soccer in this country's never been easy to watch. That's the most frustrating thing. You just said it with the NWSL. The Champions League is on Paramount Plus until the final. You can't watch the best teams in the world until the final stage, which is unacceptable for the game's biggest sport. It's not acceptable.
Well, it just got harder.
Yeah, so. But this is what I'm going to mention, though. There's consistency here. That is the one difference, though, because NBC would go back and forth between streaming, between cable. This, at least MLS is here. And if you want to watch the game, you now have a place you can do it consistently. And yeah, I do agree with you. Having so many different streaming services gets really complicated, but I'm happy at least that MLS has one home that you can commit to. And we'll see, again, I'm a big fan of broadcast quality, though. As long as they're doing it right, I'll enjoy it, and we'll see what ends up happening.
And here's what I'll say on the MLS, because I was diving into some of the numbers the other day.
Let's dive into them.
So Ryan. I'm an NYCFC fan.
You're calling yourself a fan, legit?
Yes.
Wow.
And I'll go through a little story. Me and my roommates were battling what flag to put up, the NYCFC 2021 Champions flag or our New York Giants flag. I'm not a Giants fan.
Absurd conversation.
And so I am fighting tooth and nail for NYCFC.
Oh, thank God. All right,
and I'm glad you would like that. And what I did is, some people were saying, oh, who cares about MLS and all this? And MLS it's past hockey. It's going to pass these other sports maybe sometime soon. I think you have a take on that coming up.
Oh, yes.
But I was shocked to see the numbers, the attendance, everything that the MLS does. It has legitimate buzz in this country. We know soccer as a whole is growing in America, but I was surprised that the MLS in particular had the viewers, had the support that it did from people in the country. So it's a huge risk, though, for them, because Apple TV having to buy a separate package,
that's the problem.
That's going to require people that are casual fans to invest money in
That's a good one. I didn't think about that.
And you're not going to you're going to lose people that way. I hate to break it to you.
Good point.
Me, who's definitely not this ride or die soccer guy, am I going to buy this? I don't know.
I'm even 50-50 on it too.
Right? Because you're spending money out of your pocket. It's a different animal. So the fact that you have to buy two kind of separate things
Good point.
makes me skeptical of this move for the MLS if they want to keep growing.
But you mentioned something important about the MLS being the fastest growing league in the world. I think it's even true with the NWSL, right? We're talking about growth all the time, right? Like, and one of my favorite conversations we had was when we were talking about NYCFC winning a championship, and you were like, "Oh, it's not that impressive. There's only 15 teams in the MLS. Meanwhile, there's 30 clubs.
Yeah, I know.
It's no
wrong.
different than any other team in any other league in the country." So I don't know, Julia. To me, it just speaks to not just MLS, but NWSL and the growth of the game in New York and the country. And again, we talked about it with Deborah before. Like, exposure is key to this stuff. So whatever makes the game easier to watch, you're going to see the growth with it.
Exactly. And with the NWSL in particular, this is what I know the most about in comparison to the MLS. But I mean, that league is growing so fast right now. It's like every year there's another expansion team. And this past season, there were 2 expansion teams, and one in LA, one in San Diego. And if you look at the numbers for Angel City FC, which is LA's NWSL team, it is like numbers you've never seen before in a United States women's soccer league. And it's really amazing to see. And I can only assume with the men's national team now performing better that's going to have a ripple effect throughout the MLS.
So speaking of the men's national team, the other thing we'll get to here is the World Cup cities in the United States in 2026 got announced the other day. Pretty much all expected. I know you were upset Nashville didn't get the nod.
Should have been on there, yes.
Should have
been on
And
there.
you had Jersey, MetLife, LA, Dallas, San Francisco, 3 cities in Mexico, 2 Canadian. But to have this World Cup in the United States, I was saying yesterday, I'm so bummed that this current one is not getting played till the fall. I think the summer's a great time for it. But the fact that the United States is holding this, I'm just so pumped. And I know, Alex, you being an actual soccer fan
Yes.
probably feel the same way.
Well, here's the thing I think is so important. People got to realize, you talk about the growth of the MLS. The last time the United States had a World Cup, 20, 30 years ago, that was the key reason the MLS grew. If that did never happen, the MLS probably would not exist, and it would not be as popular as it was. That was a key moment for showing America what soccer can bring to the country. And now, you fast forward 30 years, we're going to host the World Cup. We're also going to have a team that can compete for a World Cup. This is the most important thing about this. We're a top 15 team in the country, and by that point, or in the world, excuse me.
You made the same mistake yesterday.
Top 15 team in the world. By estimations, when we compete in 2022 in Qatar, this entire roster will have gone through a World Cup experience. And I think if you get out of the group stages, if you make a run at Qatar, at a time of the year around the holiday season, there's going to be a lot of buzz around that. 2026, the United States has a chance to win the World Cup. 11 cities in the country. MLS's growth. Soccer is easily the second biggest sport in the country. It won't catch football. It will easily, confidently be the second biggest sport in the country.
NBA, MLB,
will pass. It will pass.
By what year specifically?
Because we talked by 2026, and then obviously the first year after the World Cup. Because something you mentioned too, if the Women's World Cup comes here too, and if both of these games, back-to-back World Cups are in this country, all bets are off.
I think the timing is impeccable. I mean, with the men's national team growing incredibly with talent and whatnot, and the World Cup potentially coming at 2026. That's a bold take to say it'll be the second.
But is it though? Because here's the thing. Basketball, we talked about viewership numbers for the NBA Finals, were nowhere to be found. They were not great. They've historically been low year, and I'm a huge basketball fan, historically low year over year. Baseball hasn't figured out how to market its stars yet. They have not figured it out. I think they will. You and I both said baseball is going to have its resurgence. Football is America's godchild. That's not going to get touched. But everything else, the growth that we're seeing, the big moment hasn't even come yet. And I think the second you start seeing that, every new city the MLS pops up in is incredible amount of buzz. You've seen it in Nashville. You've seen it in Austin. Once you get, World Cup quality soccer here and the United States competing in it, the amount of parties and the culture and what you're going to see, the watch parties, you're not going to have a huge watch party of the United States in the World Cup.
I will.
Bigger than anything that's ever happened. I think it's going to be so exciting. So to me, that's the time soccer takes over, and it already is getting there, and that's just super exciting, I think.
So if that's your lasting take, that soccer will pass.
That's how I'm going out.
I like that.
I'm going out.
If that will be your last
And then I'm
take.
going to call this show in 2027 and say, told you so.